Hey Zwifters, welcome to another Zwift Racing League Recon. This is the 5th race in the series, second to last one in this first round of Zwift Racing League. As you probably know, it's 4 rounds, and each round is 6 races. So this course is going to be 1 lap of Legends and Lava. That is going to be 24.7 kilometers, and that's also 15.3 miles for those in the US. And it's also going to be 1,100 feet of climbing, which is also 352 meters of elevation gain. Bike choice, the best bike choice is going to be the Tron bike, just because it is an amazing all-arounder, and an all-arounder will be very important for this course. Another great bike is going to be the Chapter 2 Toa or the Canyon Aeroad 2021. Those are 2 great all-arounder bikes, and I would pair them with a good all-arounder wheel set like the GT Swiss wheel set or the NV 7.8s. That's it for bike choice. Now on to the recon. So heading through Titans Grove here, you can see I've already got the recon going because this is a pretty long route and I want to make sure I get through the entire footage and I don't have to just show bits and pieces, because this is around a 30 to 50 minute race depending on the category and speed and size of the group that you are racing with. So I did the Zwift Academy baseline ride to try to get some footage for this recon video, and I was pretty tired, so I wasn't actually going for these segments as hard as I could have gone. I was kind of just doing this for the footage because there were no other rides on Legends and Lava, and it would have been a pain to do this by myself. So heading to the first segment, on those rollers that you saw earlier, not much is going to happen. It's going to be a pretty mellow race up until now, and coming up this Titans Grove KOM, you're going to really want to stay close to riders and stay towards the front of the group, especially if you are a sprinter or a climber trying to go for those points that are going to be offered later on in the race. Something that riders who are going for this segment want to do is just surf the wheels up until around 500 feet left to go, around this mark right here, and that's when you really just launch your sprint and go all out, and that is when you will just fly right by the riders. You can kind of use them as a lead out train. Nathan Guerra from Zwift Community Live actually has great footage of him doing the exact thing that I'm advising you all to do, and he played it extremely well because he's an extremely experienced racer, and he pretty much just sat on the wheels and he just used them as a lead out and was able to grab all of the points at the top of Titans Grove KOM. As usual, there's FTS and FAL points available on all of these segments, so you don't need to worry about there only being FTS or FAL, because that can get quite confusing when you are racing. This descent here and the remainder of Titans Grove is a great chance for those who are dropped from the climb to catch back on. That is something that I've commonly seen happen because I have raced a route similar to this race, to this course, and this course in general multiple times, and that is normally what happens. You saw that happen in the Climbers Gambit race, which was race 1 of Zwift Racing League. The same will likely happen in this race. So in terms of power up and play real quick, we're going to be talking about power ups, and it's going to be 40% featherweight for this race, 30% draft boost, and 30% aero boost. Featherweight is going to come and use a lot on this course, on that Volcano KOM, because it'll really allow you to get a breather or take the win at that final steep bit of the Volcano KOM. So for the draft boost, that's going to be very useful on the sprint or just drafting to try to save your energy on that Volcano KOM, or just getting a breather in general at any point in the course. Aero boost is going to be very helpful if you do happen to get dropped and do need to get back on pretty quick. Aero boost will be able to help you with that. It'll also help you on that sprint, but on the finishing sprint, it's not going to be the most useful power up because your speed is not going to be that high as you are cresting the top of the Volcano KOM. But I have a bunch of tips for you guys later on in this video, so stay tuned. There's a lot of strategic things that could happen on this course and a bunch of tips that I have for those racing. Not much is going to take place for these next few miles, but as we near the sprint, I do have some tactical tips, so you can go ahead and fast forward this chunk right here because I really have no tips for this part. Mostly just surf the wheels, enjoy the draft, and save as much energy as possible for that upcoming sprint. Right here, there's a short incline. Nothing much will happen here because riders will be able to catch back on as the gradient levels out. So just make sure to stay near the front of the group and you'll be perfectly fine. At this part of the course, this is where we may see some more tactical things coming into play because riders are going to be getting anxious for here, and for the higher level teams, they might try to start a lead out train and tire the other riders out before that sprint, and they'll just have their rider just chilling in the draft, and riders can really get away pretty quickly on that short incline, so we could actually see some breakaways, trying to get some early points, but they'll have to push really hard on this descent because on the descent, they'll probably get reeled in if they do not time their tactics well and their breakaway well too. So right here, you're going to see that we are going to go through this little tunnel, and that's going to be where the sprint starts. You're going to want to give it your all because if you get dropped here, it's going to be extremely tough next few minutes because right after this, you go through this short bridge. Not going to be much time because riders still have tons of momentum, and up this little short incline, you're going to go through the S's. Going through the S's, that's going to be really tough, especially if you are off the back. If you are off the back, the race is pretty much over. I'm going to say that, and I'm being honest because I've raced this multiple times, and if you get dropped on that sprint and you are not able to catch up by the end of the S's, it's going to be very hard to chase back because riders are going to be getting ready for the climb, and these S's go by really quickly because they are rollers, and larger groups travel super fast on this section of the course. So I highly recommend staying near the front. Even if you are not a sprinter, I'd still go for the sprint. It's worth it in the end because if you don't, you're probably going to get dropped. Through this tunnel here, not much is going to happen, and through most of the next lap, half lap actually, before you actually go up the Volcano KOM, really nothing happens, and it's just a waiting game to see who goes first on that Volcano KOM. Typically on the Volcano KOM, the race does string out and it's broken into a few different groups, and unless there is one rider hammering really hard on the front, there is going to be a lead group and you'll be able to just draft for most of the climb and just sit in, surf the wheels. What you don't want to do is get too far behind or start to see the close the gap text on the screen, because if that does happen, you'll know that you are dropping back, and if you do drop too far back and you miss a move, that could be the end of the race for you. That can be really disappointing if you are in a good position, because at this point, most riders will be in a good position. They'll just be sitting in right now, holding around 4 watts per kilo if you are in B, and 4 to 5 watts per kilo if you're in B actually. But I'm using B as an example because I typically race B, and I've raced this course numerous times, especially with that Volcano KOM thrown in there. So as you go up this part, there are some short descents, so that's where you don't want to be too far back, because if you do get too far back, the group can gap you really easily, and you'll eventually just fly off the back of the group, and you will be no more. You'll be off the back and solo for the rest of the climb. It is pretty scenic, and I wouldn't pay much attention to the scenery if you are suffering, but that is something to note if you are just looking for a scenic ride. I think that this is a pretty nice route. So heading up the Volcano KOM, don't ignore the progress bar on my screen, because it is showing the Zwift Academy baseline distance, which is, as I believe, 1 mile longer than the actual climb. So you can see here that it is displaying the leaderboard now, and that is what you should be paying attention to right now. You're not going to see that while you're racing because that's not a feature that is available while you're racing, but at around half a mile left, you're going to start to see things ramp up, and I wouldn't worry too much about it unless you are really struggling. I definitely put in that effort to stick with them, because it's going to be better than having to sprint against someone else who drops back. So it's going to remain around steady 4 to 5% gradient. There's going to be a slight descent before you hit the main part of the climb, or not the main part of the climb, but the steepest part of the climb, and this is when the gradient really kicks up. And right here, you're going to want to just stay steady, and then right here is when you start hammering, stomp on the pedals as hard as you possibly can, and even over the top of the climb, you're going to see riders start to ease off, and they're not going to underestimate how much they're going to slow down, and they're going to end up getting dropped. Thanks for watching, everyone. I wish everyone the best of luck, and I hope to see you all in the next video. So see you all next time. Good luck and ride on.